Hello, everybody. Welcome back to TMR's Master Advisor series. Today is May 22nd, 2025. I'm in Salt Lake City right now for ASTA's Travel Advisor Conference, but I'm really, really happy to be able to take some time off the programming to be here with all of you. We are here with Ariel Chavez, a cruise planner's agent, talk about how he went from having no cruise experience to becoming a river cruise expert. I'm really excited to get into this conversation. We also have a sponsor for today, but I just want to make some quick housekeeping announcements first, and then we'll jump right into it. As always, I love to plug our YouTube channel on these episodes. We're going to drop the link into the chat, but that's going to be the home for all of our audio and video content. And for those of you who want to rewatch this conversation or re-listen to this conversation later today or tomorrow morning, you can go ahead and do it over there once we upload it as soon as possible. If you're over there liking those videos, subscribing to the channel really helps us keep growing this community, keep bringing you these episodes every couple of weeks. So please head over there if you're interested. There's a lot of content on there. There's some episodes we've done throughout this year. I know we did some very, very popular ones this year, and I keep getting questions about how to rewatch them. You can do them over there. All of our audio content, all of our video content, including this program going back to sort of the dark days of the pandemic is there from 2020. So if you have some time, I know how busy everyone is, please go ahead and head over there. I see so many people already interacting in the chat, and I just want to remind everyone that the chat is going to be open. We're going to be going to it as much as we can today, interacting with all of you. So if you have a question for me, a comment for me, or for Stacy or for Ariel, please go ahead, use the chat. I see so many people from around the country and North America. I see Carol from Ontario in there. So we love the chat. We love interacting with you, and don't be shy in there. I promise to keep an eye on it throughout the next 45 minutes or so. Last announcement, we do not have a new next episode to confirmed right now. So we're working on booking a couple guests for June for some topics that have been pretty highly requested, but nothing's confirmed. So I don't want to plug anyone or take anyone's time, but keep an eye out for June announcements. We do have some July stuff already confirmed and planned. We'll roll that out to you over the next few weeks, but this is after this episode, we're just unsure about the next one, but please keep an eye out on your emails, keep an eye out on the TMR social pages, all that. And once we do have firm news, we'll be sure to share with you ASAP. Okay. All right. So with that all out of the way, I'm really excited to welcome our sponsor for today's episode. We have Stacy Falls from Cruise Planners here, live from headquarters in Florida to chat with us a little bit about this topic and about what's going on with cruise planners.
Great. Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody. I'm Stacy Falls, AVP of Marketing here at Cruise Planners. A little bit about us. We are a franchise organization in our 31st year of travel. We have franchise owners across the U.S. Our name is Cruise Planners, but don't let the name fool you because we sell all kinds of travel, including land tours, escorted tours, FIT, all-inclusive resorts, luxury travel, travel insurance, everything related to travel we sell. One thing we're really proud of is last year we received a 99% satisfaction rating from Franchise Business Review. We're super proud of this because it's based on feedback from our franchise owners, which means so much to us here at home office because our number one priority is supporting our advisors, not just with standard resources, but with all the training, the business building strategy sessions, an abundance of marketing, and getting to know each and every advisor on a personal level so it feels more like a partnership and family vibes. We're talking about niche travel today and from going from no experience to being an expert in something. And I want to say that there are no cookie cutter platforms for success here at Cruise Planners, nor what advisors should sell. That our Cruise Planners model allows for specialization. We've got specialist programs. We have technology and marketing that are designed to flex with your interests, all while helping you monitor your success and track your goals. Our business development team is skilled at helping advisors find their sweet spot because sometimes when you're starting out, you're not sure what kind of niche or what kind of specialty you want to focus on. And our business development team is skilled at helping advisors find that sweet spot and then growing it into a success. You're about to meet a Cruise Planners franchise owner, Ariel Chavez, who has gone from a corporate desk job to no sales experience to a top seller of river cruises. But first, I want to give everyone a fun fact about river cruising. May I? Okay, so I don't know if everyone knows how river cruising started, but although the first river cruises started in the 19th century along the Nile, it really wasn't until 1992. It's hard to believe. 1992 is when there was a massive construction project that opened up the waterways in Europe for shipping and freight, and that's what launched the river cruise industry. That's your factoid for today. So with that, I'm excited to introduce Ariel Chavez, live from Alabama. Right, Ariel?
Right.
Joined in 2013 and has grown his business by leaps and bounds by focusing on river cruising. So
thank you, Stacy. Thank you. Happy to be here. Thank you, Dan, for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, again, we're so happy to have you. I know we're going to get into a lot today, but I see so many comments in the chat about cruise planners. I know we've done a couple of these with cruise owners before. I'm curious how many cruise planners advisors we have on the call, because I have the feeling that the support is pretty numerous and pretty strong. I've already seen some in there. So yeah, Ariel, thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to me. We always feel so appreciated for the advisors and the other people who come on the show and sort of lend their voices and lend their expertise. I was hoping you could sort of start us off with just telling us about your entry into this industry. And I know the franchise model is a unique model. I know Cruise Planners are very successful with it, and there's other companies in the US and Canada that have the franchise model too. And I'm curious how you got into the industry and how you landed on the franchise model for your career.
Sure. I'm happy to share that. So I can give you a little bit of background. So I came to the US to finish my college studies. So I came to finish my engineering degree, and I finished that in 2002. I went and worked in a consulting company for almost a decade. I was on highway design, but I always loved and dreamed of traveling abroad and experiencing new cultures. It was something that I really enjoyed. So while I was working as an engineer, I was planning on taking a long trip. I was thinking once I saved enough money, I could take a 2-year sabbatical and just travel around the world. So that was my original plan. As I got closer to that goal, I started reading about, some people could work while traveling. And then I thought maybe while I'm taking this trip, I can also do some work, So I thought about maybe I can open, I had a, decent amount of engineering experience. I had worked 10 years as a consultant. I got a professional engineering license. I got a master's degree. So I thought I can use this also to generate some income. So I was reading on how to open a business. My first idea was to open an engineering company. And I was reading different, publications, different websites. And I remember one day I was reading Entrepreneur magazine, entrepreneur.com, and, how to run a business. I had never, run a business myself. I was usually, always an employee. I worked for someone else. So I was, I needed to learn, how do you open a business? What do you need to do? I did not grow up here in the US. So I needed to learn a lot of things about, how to structure a business, how to incorporate a business. And when I was doing that, I came across an article that, I think was listed as fastest growing franchises in the US. And Cruise Planners was one of the one of the companies listed there. So I clicked on it. It triggered my attention. I was curious. I had never taken a cruise. I had never used a travel agent, but just the idea of traveling was intriguing. So I clicked on it. I started reading about it. I did some research. I checked. I consider, should I leave my engineering career and, go on this completely unknown field? So after doing some research, talking to people, that's what I decided to do. So I
Yeah.
decided to take a chance. I changed my plan of going on a 2-year sabbatical for a short trip here around the U.S. and then use the money to buy the franchise and to start the business. So that's how I started.
Well, first of all, congratulations, Ariel, because that was about 10 years ago, right? Or more than 10 years ago at this point.
Yeah, I think about 11 years ago now. Yes.
Yeah, so you've obviously made it through the COVID era, which was a dark time in the industry. I think everyone would agree. But I know when I speak to advisors, even at this conference I'm at now, I'm just so humbled by hearing people who make the leap into the world of being an entrepreneur. And I know, like, being an engineering person, in my mind, that's someone who's very practical, who, like, the leap of faith maybe is, I don't know if it's more difficult to take, but it's certainly a leap. It's certainly a leap. So congratulations. I mean, what was the feeling like moving from being behind a desk, being part of a larger company, something that seems incredibly stable, that field, into being an entrepreneur in travel, which can definitely swing both ways, that everybody knows.
Yeah. So it was intimidating, I guess. It was because most of the people that I talked to, some friends, even family members, who I mentioned this idea of leaving my well-established, engineering job for, becoming a travel agent. Some people thought I was just crazy. Some people thought, this guy is just nuts. And it was, but at the time I thought, it's an opportunity. It's something that I think I can do. And I have, I read about success stories of other people, and I thought, I should give it a try. I have to, and mainly, I remember talking to some people who have done it, and they told me, how things work. I talked to cruise planners. I started doing some research about other, options, but after comparing and doing my research, I just decided that cruise planners was the right choice for me. It was, as an engineer, technology was very important for me. So they offer by far the best technology. I also like the personal, contact, or the personal treatment that I got from the person at Cruise Planners who was, working with me. And some of the biggest, differences, I guess, I had never, as an engineer, I had never, had to sell anything, right? I was just designing highways behind my desk. So transitioning from there to being a salesperson was an adjustment. But something that I learned is that, I still don't see myself as a salesperson, but I see myself as an educator, as someone who's trying to help people. So, I'm always happy to answer questions. I'm always happy to share my experiences. And I'm not a pushy person. I don't tell people, we need to book this by tomorrow or by today. Just try to give them options, try to answer their questions. And I think that's what made it easier, and Cruise Planners is, has a successful model. So as an engineer, I'm a good rule follower, as a good suggestion follower. So I had never, put together a cruise night. I had no idea what a cruise night was. I had no idea what a cruise was. So it was very helpful to have a team of people behind you who can answer your questions and help you start a business.
All right. So I see some comments. They're all great. I know people want to hear about your experience in river cruising, particularly, Ariel. I guess I want to start there. So you get your franchise going. You said you didn't have any cruise experience at first. I'm curious. I mean, what did you start initially when you started having success? Your network and other people outside of it. What kind of products were dominating, or what kind of products were making up most of your sales?
Yeah. So I started, the first few bookings that I had were about friends my age, right? My circle of friends or people that I was networking with. And at the beginning, I was doing a lot of all-inclusives, had friends who were going on honeymoons, or, friends of friends who were going on honeymoons, planning destination weddings. So I was doing a lot of land packages or all-inclusive packages, just because, I needed the money, right? I was starting my business, so I needed some clients. I needed just to generate business. And then maybe a year into opening my business. My husband is from Germany, so we were going to go visit his family in Europe. And then I came across this FAM opportunity with AMA Waterways. So, I said, the FAM was working fine with the dates of our trip. So I said, this would be a good chance for me to experience this. It intrigued me, when I participated in webinars and the presentations. I thought that it looked appealing, it looked interesting, and but decided to go on that FAM trip and just really enjoyed the experience of the river cruise. It was a completely changed my mind and changed those misconceptions that I had about cruises. I had I had no idea about I had ideas in my mind about cruising that were wrong, and there are still people who have that. So that's part of my job, is to let people know what cruising really is, what the experience really is. So after that experience with AMA Waterways, I came back and I was, just telling people, how much I enjoyed it, what a nice experience it was. And, that kind of made it easier for me to sell the product, to tell people, this is when people hear how much you enjoy something, they are curious. And I guess that was the beginning of my river cruise career.
So earlier in the week, you mentioned that you started out, you were 70 or 80% land-based, and that's sort of flipped completely. And now you're about 70% cruises, and you told me it's a mix of ocean and river. It seems like a really exciting segment to be in. Like, we're getting news, more and more entrants onto the river. I know AMA Waterways, you mentioned, is where you took your first sailing, and they're adding, I think they're going to be up to close to 40 ships over the next couple of years. So I think it's really, really exciting segment. I'm curious, like, now your business, Ariel, like, river cruising is such a big part of it. One thing you mentioned to me both about river cruising and ocean cruising earlier in the week is the issues with matching client to the right product. With this sort of proliferation of product, with more ships, more land, more brands coming into the industry, and more areas of the world sailing to, it's the task to match someone seems to be incredibly difficult.
It can be, and I think that's where you, as a travel expert, as a travel agent, can become very helpful, and that's where your value is. And just like you were saying, Dan, so yes, definitely my path into river cruising started organically, just by my first experience. And then once I, learned that I really liked this, I was more intentional on the steps that I wanted to take. So to grow my business into river, in river cruises. So, some of the things I think to your point is different cruise lines have a lot of things in common, but there are details and subtleties that, make them different. And experiencing them, I think, is a good way for you to learn, what makes them different. What could be, if you have a client who is more into, art or classical music, or if you have a client who's more active and looking for a more active experience, if you have clients who are looking for a more relaxed vacation, or maybe want to go with a group, or solo travelers, or some people planning their vacations with families and kids, right? So different cruise lines offering different services, different types of experiences. So knowing how those are different, and asking the right questions to your clients, help you be a good matchmaker.
So I want to talk about that, asking the right questions to the clients, because I think being a good matchmaker, being a good steward of this segment is what has made you successful. We could talk a little bit about building client lists too, but we have a question from Adrian. I want to answer this quickly. I'm not sure if you've been to this event, Ariel, but she's asking about the At the River Expo. And I'll just give like a quick 30 seconds because I know we don't want to stray too far away from the topic. But from what I hear, this event, which I think is ASSA's most popular event now, is good if you want to see about 20 or 15 or 20 river ships in one area at one time.
Yes, and I have participated in different ways at the expo, and definitely, if you're new to river cruising, it could be a good experience to visit a big number of ships, but it is different than going on a regular sailing, right? It's going to give you a different experience. So it is helpful, definitely helpful. I think it's I have participated in pre and post cruises during the event, which I think are phenomenal, for you to learn how they operate. So it is a good, if you're new to river cruises, I think it's a good event to participate, definitely.
Yeah, that's exactly what I hear as well. All right, so let's talk about qualifying clients or asking clients the right questions in order to draw out the information you need to match them to the right brand. I think you spoke about sort of this matchmaking process earlier in the week.
Mhm.
I was hoping you could talk to me a little bit about that. Like when you have a client coming in, how do you qualify them, or how do you pull that information out in order to get them matched to the right product?
So yes, during our conversation earlier, I mentioned I noticed that I was asking similar questions to new clients, right? Or even when clients came back, I wanted to hear their feedback. So my team and I came up with these questionnaires, list of questions that we use to qualify people, and that will help us, match them with the right product. So there are a bunch of, many questions, but I think some of the ones that I can think of are, do you have any personal interest or hobbies, right? Things that you like to do. What do you do on your free
Okay.
time? Are you looking
Well,
for
Ariel, so like for that one, what kind of answers would you typically get when you ask about hobbies? And I guess how would that help you inform your decision making?
Yeah, for example, I have I'm working now with some clients who they are into classical music, right? So they are
Okay.
avid classical music people. So, for them, I can suggest something along the Danube, to go visit Vienna, go see a private concert. Uniworld does a phenomenal job with that kind of thing. If you have someone that is more active, right? Someone who wants to just, climb hills or, be active with their partner or travel companion, ask them if they're, if they would like to use bikes, and if it makes a difference if they need regular bikes or if they prefer e-bikes, those kind of things. If they are interested in art, or if they're interested in history, like places like Egypt, will be phenomenal. So yeah, those kind of things, what do they like to do on their free time? And sometimes people don't realize that that's something that will, could transform a good vacation into a just phenomenal, unique experience.
Yeah, and I know a lot of these river cruise companies have specialty sailings, like you mentioned, which you'll be matched with sort of 200 other like-minded people on board, which is kind of a terrific experience to be able to have a common thread, to be able to bond with fellow passengers, things like that.
Yeah.
So we have a question. I'm going to grab this one from Adrian as well. I'd like to know if Ariel has a favorite river cruise for first timers in particular.
So I would say for first timers, something that is, as close to the Western American culture. Usually I would say, Germany, the Rhine is a good experience.
Yeah.
It's also easy to access, flights are not too complicated. So the Rhine would be a good option. It's also very scenic. And then probably the Danube, I guess. But I would say probably the Rhine and Danube are some of the most, good options for first-time river cruisers. And again,
All right.
but if your river, if your client is more into something specific, you ask those questions and see, what could be a better match for them.
All right. Amazing. Okay. Let me see. So we spoke about the first question, sort of hobbies and interests. What do you do in your free time, which is sort of lending itself to that. Like, what other stuff is important to make sure you pull from a client's qualifying call, or getting to know them, or however that process works?
Some other questions that we ask is, what has been their most favorite vacation? Can they tell us about how was it? What did they enjoy about it? Also to know, if they have any medications, right? Do they need like a small fridge to keep those? That will also make make a difference in our decision of recommendation. Do they, they're expecting, or is room service important for them? What kind of nightlife would they like to have? Would they consider, having a personal butler? Is that something that sounds appealing to them, or probably not? And also, I don't like asking or mentioning the word budget, but I feel more comfortable, and I have learned to ask the question on terms of price range. What price range would you feel comfortable with? And that also, helps me make a better suggestion, and also minimizes the iterations of going back and forth. So it saves us time. It helps us, give a better answer to our clients. So those are some of the questions that we do and that we ask. And then there's the typical questions that you ask for any vacation. Are you celebrating any special occasion? Does anyone have any special needs or dietary restrictions? Are your dates flexible? Maybe we can find a better option or a better match on different dates. So yes, I think those are some of the questions that we usually ask.
All right. Okay, so 70% of your business now is cruises. It's ocean and it's river. And I know ocean cruises sort of is a significantly larger world than river cruises. How did you manage to get educated on all these products, particularly like when you were coming into the industry? How did so many ships, so many destinations, so many cruise lines, how did you manage to build up this knowledge? And what's that process like for you today as the industry continues to evolve?
So, after I came back from my first river cruise in France along the Seine, I knew that, this was something that I really liked, experiencing, that I would like to do it again. So when I was participating in different trade shows, I would go and, intentionally meet and introduce myself to the BDMs, right? I would tell them, hey, my name is Ariel Chavez. I'm interested in learning more about your company, and start the connection, start the relationship. Then I also did training, got certifications with with the companies. And what is nice about those trainings is that with many companies, once you complete the training, that will give you priority in terms of FAM invitations or special events. And some companies will also, put your name on their website as an agent, as a recommended agent. So that helps a lot too. After that, I started organizing events. Not a lot of BDMs come to Alabama, so it took some time, but I was able to create a good business plan, something that they felt compelled and they liked. So we started doing events with different cruise lines, different companies. And something that I noticed is during those events is that people will ask, have you been on a river cruise? Have you been on this river cruise? And and while I had been on one at the time, I knew that I had to try the others to be able to answer that question, right? So at the time, I started to, going on additional FAMs. Sometimes, if there was a cruise line that I wanted to try, and I would just, pay for the fare, right? That's just part of education. It's an investment that you have to make on it. But I could see the results. When I came back and I was talking to those people, telling them, I think you're gonna like this one better because this matches better your personality, matches better your style. And after those events, I also did experience the same itinerary or similar itinerary with different cruise lines, right, to see what makes them different. So I've been on the up and down the Danube several times, which is it's not it's not a complaint, but it's there are different options. But it's good for me to learn what makes these companies different. What are the little things that that I can tell this option will be better for you as opposed to this other one. So that's trying the same itinerary with different brands, and also experience or sharing your experience in social media. And now I am more intentional also about, for example, putting it on my business cards, putting it on my website that we specialize in river cruises. And that kind of creates some, I guess, some kind of, it's good for other people to know, and they just
Yeah.
use, I can call Ariel if I have a question about some kind of reputation. That's what I was thinking, so people can give you a call and say, someone is talking to someone about river cruises, so they say, oh, then you need to talk to Ariel. And I had a few people who say, I'm planning a river cruise, and so told me that you're the guy to talk to. So yeah, those were, I guess, some of the steps or things that we did to grow our business in river cruising.
Yeah, and I know river cruising I know it's not a incredibly mature product at this point, but it's definitely not like the new kid on the block anymore. I mean, over the past few months, we've seen the announcements from a bunch of different companies, including Celebrity, which I think is going to make a big mark in the cruise industry. But consumers are still sort of new. A lot of consumers seem still new to river cruising, and they want a specialist when they want to book this trip. And advertising yourself as a specialist, and I know that improves online searches and things like that, but it seems to, like you mentioned, lend yourself some credibility as an expert in their eyes. And obviously, you put in the work you need to in order to be an expert. So, so I think that's a really smart way to look at it. So I want to ask, you mentioned events, Ariel, and I think at the beginning of this call, you mentioned cruise nights, and those seem to be pretty good events for you and pretty powerful sales channel. Is that correct?
They were, at the beginning, that was the main way for me to gain clients, right? Because I knew I wanted to grow my river cruise business. So yeah, I did several events, mainly pre-pandemic. I did a lot of them with many different brands. And, I think what I learned to make some of those events successful was to partner with a location or a place that that will help you promote the event. That's usually very helpful.
Okay.
You can buy maybe approach a wine store or a museum, an art museum, a history museum. You can also something that I learned, the beginning, I was having a lot of people that just came and then, they came kind of for the free food and the free drinks.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
something that I learned, it was to make it a little bit more exclusive, right? To say, okay, I'm not charging an entrance fee or a ticket, but what we're asking is a donation. So we ask people to make a donation at the entrance, and then, we give that to one of our, favorite nonprofits. So that was a way to get people who were really more interested in working with us. So yeah, and then, advertising, letting people know, plan way in advance, because your BDMs are pretty busy people, and we all want to have events during wave season or early in the year. So you need to talk to them ahead of time, and have a specific plan, see what your goals are, what you want to do, and then when you have results to show, it makes it easier to talk to others to work with you.
Yeah, and one thing I hear from BDMs is they are more than willing to lend a hand in order to make the sales. Like, they're true partners. I know the best BDMs look at themselves as true partners. So I know it's an ad, you have to make the ask, but it's something they're interested in as well. So I wouldn't be shy about that. We have a question from Lorraine about just like, I guess cruise lights. Some people aren't super familiar with them. Could you tell us a little bit about sort of just simply what goes on during these events?
A cruise night. Okay. So usually it's, it will be a presentation of, where the cruise line will talk about their services, what kind of service they offer. And sometimes at the beginning, maybe 8-10 years ago, it was more educational about what a river cruise is, because it was kind of beginning at that point, and not many people were aware of what a river cruise was. So it's usually, you contact your BDM, or you have a date, you have a specific location, they'll make a presentation, and different people do it different ways. We do something simple, just have, usually wine works well with river cruises. We have some little, we buy little European treats or something just to make it a little bit different, right? And you can, it's not a secret, but you can buy some French pastries or little Italian, German cookies at Costco, right? But you can make it affordable. You don't have to, spend a lot of money, but just have an event where you offer refreshments, and then the BDM will have a presentation about their company. And something that I tell, you want to develop that relationship with the BDM, and, make sure that he's going to tell people during the presentation that, that you are the expert, right? That the people should work with you, book with you. And that's something that I have been able to do with my BDMs. I think, they mentioned my name, they mentioned our company during the cruise night several times. And then often there is an incentive, for people who are going to be booking within the next 14 days or so. There will be some onboard credits, some savings, or some extra perk. So yeah, and then, the way, and sometimes you have an event and you might have, 20, 30, 40 people and have a few bookings. And, what I have learned is that, don't give up. Don't, those other 20, 30 people, doesn't mean they are not going to book with you, right. I mean, they're not booking with you right now, but they might come later, right? So grab their contact information, put them on your database. And that's something that I really liked about cruise planners. They makes it easy for us to, to use their templates. We put our client's name, email address, a phone number, or sometimes their mailing address, and their marketing department just starts working their magic. So it's that's what I would say. That's how it works.
All right. All right. So we have about 8 minutes left. I'm going to grab a couple questions in the chat, but if anyone else has any other questions, please drop them in there and hopefully we'll get to them. But Ariel, just hearing you speak about, you said you did a lot of these pre-pandemic. It seems like when you were building your business. I'm curious now, and I think a couple other people in the chat are curious as well. Like now that you're an established business, as Stephanie said, how do you prospect? How do you generate leads? When you get new clients come to you, I guess, where are they coming from?
Most of our new clients right now are word of mouth. They're a referral from a past guest or a family member. I think, having a Google business page is important, because we get a couple of calls a week, say, I just found, we always ask, where are you? How did you hear about us? I think it's important for us to know where you're, what marketing programs are working for you. So we always ask, how did you find about us? And, we get a couple of phone calls from Google. And so I think having a good and consistent presence, we do have a Google business page.
I'm curious, the Google channel, like that referral system, or the people who are finding you on Google, they're local to your area? Is that, and then they're searching for a travel advisor near me? Is that typically what happens?
Most of them, yes. Most of them are local, and sometimes, here in Alabama, we have also a decent snowbird population, people who come from the north. So sometimes they're just visiting, and they temporarily, but so eventually after the winter or fall, they'll go back home. But it's usually when they are here in the area.
Yeah, this week I read that about those Google pages, because I know the part of the pitch with having an online business presence is that it gets you out of just your local area, but people are going to get the results from their local area first, and making sure your zip codes are there, your phone number with the correct area code is going to drive people to your page who are searching near you. And obviously, it seems to be a sense of trust when you find someone in your local area as well. Is that okay to say?
Yes, I would say so. And something that we notice is that, there are companies in our city, in our area, that have been in business for a long time, but they have, so far, thankfully, we have a 5-star, review.
Yeah.
We have only 5-star reviews. So there are other companies, even though they have been longer, they have not so nice or complimentary reviews. So I think that's also what tells people or convince people to give us a call instead of our competitors. And it's something I think is relatively easy to do when you have a client who's satisfied, who just came and is so happy, and they tell you thank you for such an amazing experience. Then that's the best time to ask them, hey, would you mind please giving us a review on Google? And you create an easy link, make it as easy as possible for them to do it. And you can when you do that, and I think that probably pushes you up in the algorithm. And that's what we do. We're also, talking about online or social media, you can partner with different brands now where they post, they make the posts for you. They make reels on Instagram. They put live videos, or they do everything for you. So I left that now kind of on the back burner. And at the beginning of my when I was starting my business, I was in almost in every single networking event that I could be at, right? And I was just trying to meet as many people, let people know that I was in business. And then that is slowly transitioned into now, thankfully, with the help of our clients, repeat clients, and then their referrals, that's now how we grow our business or continue to grow our business.
Yeah, I think people talk about like compound interest if you're young in your investing career, and it seems the same with clients. Like once you work really hard in the beginning in order to build this database of people, and you have them fall in love with just you and your services and your agency, and the referrals, they're naturally going to want to tell people about you and how successful you've been and how great their vacations were and things like that. So
Yes.
it seems like that's a pattern a lot of advisors have, is that.
Yeah, and something that I will add is, and eventually something will not go as planned. And that's also when you have to show, what you can do for people, right? And I have had, the occasional, less than ideal experience, with an airline or something like that. And that's when you can show, or, people what's the difference between making a booking online and booking with a travel agent. And, with people that I, thought, these people are never gonna come back to me afterward, because they had an issue, but we solved the issue. And later I realized that because we were able to solve the issue and, get them back to their original program, that made a difference. And now those people are some of our stronger, supporters. So if you haven't, ideally nothing will happen, and that's most of the cases. But when hiccups, arise, that's also when relationships with the vendors come up. You can, who to call, who's going to make it happen, and that can make a difference.
Yeah, when something goes wrong, it's nice to have. It's obviously incredible to have an advocate on your side. All right, so I see some questions in the chat. I'm going to grab a few of these, and then we're going to wrap up. Cheryl asks if there's a fee for Google Business Page. I don't believe there's a fee. It's the same thing if you manage your Facebook page. It's the same sort of system.
Yeah, you can pay. Sometimes they ask you to pay for more, but you just need the standard business page. Yeah.
All right. So Bill mentioned that the issue with shoppers, and I know the referral system is different. Like that's how your business is built now, but have you experience, or has it been a significant problem for you having shoppers or people who aren't, or just looking and are taking up your time and are making bookings? Is that an issue for you, and how do you deal with it if it is?
So that is a good question, Bill. So it was more at one point, right? So it's not, it's so frustrating, right? When you spend all this time and create these options, or, put a nice email or proposal together, and then, someone else, they said, well, so-and-so is $100 less or so. But one of the things I think about river cruises is that I have seen it less with river cruises. That's probably also one of the things that I like about it. But also, we started several years ago, we started a fee structure process. So, whenever we have someone who is calling us from Google, someone we have never heard of, we say, thank you for, how can we help you? How did you hear about us? And they say, we just found you on Google and we're planning this trip or need help with this vacation. So we tell them, okay, this is how we work. I'm going to send you a link where you can enter your payment details. That is going to that will give you access to about an hour of consultation. Once we finalize your itinerary, that money is going to be going towards your deposit. If for some reason you decide not to book with us, that will cover our cost, for the time and effort that we spent. And that has, just by saying those words, it's easy to tell. People will be like, oh well, let me check and see if I talk to my husband or my wife, and I'll get back to you. And then that saves you a lot of headaches, and that saves you a lot of time. So that was just something that we implemented a couple years ago.
All right, and then we had a question about fees, but I think that sort of covers it. So we spoke about a lot, Ariel. We spoke about, I think the cruise nights was really interesting conversation, sort of your entrance into this industry. I guess want to wrap up with one more. So you've been selling river cruises. You're a specialist in river cruises now. I see there's a lot of people in the chat who are just getting into this segment, or maybe who are just starting out on their agency journey and want to build their business on this segment. Any other advice that we haven't touched on that you think would be powerful to give them, or any tips or any words of wisdom as they start their own sort of journey?
I think if you know someone who, that is doing something that you like, something that could be that you are seen as a role model, or something that is successful in something that you're doing. What I personally did and still do is, approach them and say, hey, I admire what you're doing. I think it's successful, and try to, do you mind if would you be my, like a coach kind of thing, would you?
Yeah, mentor.
A mentor, yeah. Right, exactly. So, and I, there were a few people within cruise planners that, had incredible success. And I reach out to them, after talking to my cruise planners BDM, my business coach, I said, I just know how they do it. I just admire how successful they are. And she said, well, why don't you just give them a call? Just reach out to them. And, I did. I was afraid of, I didn't want to, waste their time or, be an annoyance, but they were most of them, they were just happy and willing to share with me, what they did. And it was very helpful to me. So something I think that made a difference, in my experience. So just find someone who is willing to be your mentor, and then, educate. Education, I think, is key. Is what's going to give you the knowledge to be helpful to your clients and successful.
Yeah, and I know this industry, again, is pretty incredible with the way people are willing and excited to cooperate and to mentor people. So I don't think anyone's going to have issues. I don't think they should be shy about it either. And I know a lot of groups have formal mentoring processes, but just a call. People are so willing to share expertise and information. So yeah. And again, most of this conversation is about river cruising, and I'm just so excited about river cruising, like this segment. It just seems like on the verge of something that's going to, it seems like it's going to turn into something really, really significant. And I know for so many agents, including you, Ariel, it's already pretty significant, but I can just imagine what it's going to look like in 5 years. So I think really, really high times for everybody.
I think so too. There's a lot of exciting, things coming up. So it's definitely a good time to be in the business. Definitely.
Yeah. I want to welcome Stacy back just for a second, just to say thank you for sponsoring today's episode. Thank you, Ariel, again for joining us, and thank you everyone who joined us and took part in the chat and just watched us today.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Dan, for the opportunity. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you very much. Very inspirational conversation. And yeah, we're really excited for the future. I was reading on CLIA the other day that river cruising is expected to grow 10 to 15% a year for the next, I think, 10 years, it said. So the future is definitely as bright as the river is long.
Yeah, I completely agree. Thanks again. Thanks, everyone. And hopefully we'll see you all in June. But until then, hopefully everyone stays safe, stays healthy, and happy bookings.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.